Welcome to the channel. I'm Mark, and on this series, I'll be traveling to churches far and wide to bring you encouraging, heartfelt messages from seasoned preachers and youth ministers. These intimate interactions will be to uplift, inspire, motivate, and strengthen your walk with Christ. This is Roadside Ministries. On today's episode, I have a returning guest speaker who wants to discuss what's real. I present Redford Maust.
How you doing? My name's Redford Maust. First of all, I want to thank you for just the privilege of being able to talk to you for just a couple of minutes here. I've been thinking this morning, as I've been thinking about actually speaking to you, I've been thinking about what's real and what's not. And as I reflected on that, now, I've gone down the path of some things that I thought was real and it wasn't. And it took me down some bad paths. But as I reflected on this, I was thinking about when I was in college, and that's kind of a funny time. But I was in my bed, and I was college dorm room, small. My bed, the wall right here. My bed, space. My roommate's bed, and then the wall. And we got in bed. We're talking, and I'm laying there in bed, and all of a sudden, I kid you not, it was like a hand came right out of the wall and landed on just above my knee, on my leg. And I'm talking at the moment to my roommate. We're just having a discussion. It was so real. I'm like, this cannot just be like something in my imagination. There is a hand on my leg. It freaked me out so bad. I was like so sure it was real. I put my hand down and laid it where that hand was, and I about blew a gasket. There was a hand there, and I was so instantly like freaked out. I tried to pull my hand back just like that, but I was so freaked out I actually couldn't. I was like locked up. I was like frozen instantly, and I'm just like, I can still remember, this is back in 1971, I can still remember each finger coming across this real hand that's on my leg. And I'm like, how can this hand be coming out of the wall and be on my leg? And then the hand disappeared. And I put my hand back down there, and it was gone. I'm like, what the heck? And so I kind of got my bearings again and continued my conversation with my roommate. And all of a sudden, there's the hand again. And I about blew it. I like put my hand back down there, laid it on there. And there is a physical hand on my leg that came right out of the wall. And I'm like, I slowly again, I couldn't, I was just locked up again, and I pulled my hand back across that hand, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Because there is something so real going on here, and it's coming after me. I didn't know, my mind is just scrambled, and I'm thinking, there's this big picture window right out the end of our dorm room, and I'm thinking, okay, whatever this is, it knows I'm going to freak out, and I'm going to run toward the door, and it's going to get me. This is weird. But I'm like, okay, I'm going the other way. I'm going straight through that window. And so I'm like, I am going to blast out of my bed, and I'm just going to go right through that window. I didn't care how far it was, because we're not on the ground floor. We're up, 2-3 floors. And I'm like, I don't care. And so I got ready. I made my decision. I put my hands like on the mattress to like push off and explode out of that bed and just boom, right out the door or right out that window, through the window. And when I did that, instantly reality came into focus. And because it wasn't actually the wall, it was the back of my bed, which when the way the bed was created was that there was a little cubby underneath the back. My bed was also a couch, and there was a little space there, and the guys on my floor decided to pull a prank. They decided to prank me, and they had a guy hidden in there. And so what I thought was a hand coming out of the wall was actually this guy in this little space that I didn't think about. And so instantly I knew right away what it was, jumped up, hit the lights, and then I'm freaking out. And here there's a bunch of guys outside the door waiting, and they hear me, and they come in, and they're all just dying laughing because I'm obviously shook to the core, and I'm not kidding you, because I am like freaked. And so they're all laughing, and I got up, and this is how powerful this was, this moment. On my bed, on the sheets, you could literally see the shape of my body from sweat. This all happened in about a minute. My mind created so much stress inside of me over something that was not even real. Now, we've all gone down paths where we've been deceived. And I mean, I'll come up with a definition for deception. You can come up with your own. We can look in the dictionary. But isn't being deceived when you think something's real and it's not? That could be one definition, right? And so I think of that moment in my life, and I think about another moment. And deception is powerful, especially when you're basing your life's view, the world view that you have, on that deception. And I love the way Jesus said it. He said that if the light you have within you, he says if that light you have within you is darkness, that's great darkness. It doesn't get any darker than that. Why? Well, because you aren't looking for the light. You already think you have the light, but it's actually darkness. So you continue down that path, and so, I think about big, powerful Notre Dame football players because I work with college students, and so I had a really good friend, Cam McDaniel. He was a running back at Notre Dame, and we were just good buddies. And we're driving down the road, and there's an abandoned house down about a mile from my house, and we just being adventuresome, we took some tools and took the back door off of this abandoned house. It was all locked up. And we went inside, and on the kitchen counter, there's this scrapbook. And it's kind of freaky walking around in this abandoned house, and yet you look around, you're like, dang, does somebody actually live here? Or did they just die and walk out? Because there's furniture, there's stuff on the counter. It's like, and there's a scrapbook. We open up this scrapbook, and it's obvious that there was a lady named Esther that she had passed away, because this whole scrapbook was about her passing and the great memories, blah, blah, blah. I said, Cam, let's prank some of your buddies on the football team. So this is what we did. We set up a story. The story was that Esther, that was the scrapbook, was about Esther and her husband. And we just made this story up, that between me and Cam. And so we said that, okay, Esther was married to Eddie, but Eddie was always kind of crazy, and everybody called him Crazy Eddie. And then after Esther died, they put Eddie in a home, and once in a while he gets away, and he goes back to the old farm, and that's where they always find Crazy Eddie. So we just made up, that's a made up story. That's important you understand that, because Cam goes back to campus, and he starts talking to his buddies. And that night, sure enough, he texts me, and he says, I got some guys, we're coming. And so I went down to the house. I had a trench coat on. I pulled on an old hat. I went upstairs into a bedroom upstairs. And this is the old farmhouse where the steps are really narrow and really steep. And I was kind of freaked out in this abandoned house by myself, waiting for these guys to show up. And then sure enough, I hear them come in the back door, and they're like talking quiet, and they're freaked out. These are big Notre Dame football players. And so they're snooping through. Cam shows him the scrapbook, so he goes, yeah, this is a story. I guess this crazy Eddie comes back to his house once in a while. I think it's just a story, but that's the story. So anyway, they come upstairs having that thought planted in their brain, and they're already freaked out because they're coming through in an old abandoned house. They get upstairs, and they have their iPhones on. They have their little flashlights on, and they open up the door, and they're really tentative. And they open up the door, and I'm curled up in the corner of the bedroom, and I have a big old broom handle on the floor, wooden floor, and I'm laying there, and their light starts. I can see their light sweeping across, and it's coming to me. And as soon as it gets to me, I slide that broom handle across the floor, and I go, "Esther, is that you?" Boom! Those guys are running for their life. Now they're 6'8", 175, 180 pounds. In fact, Stefan Tuitt still plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers today. And he is running like a scared little child. And they go flying out the house. And it wasn't until a week later at a barbecue at my house that me and Cam McDaniel told these guys the real story. Guess what? There's no crazy Eddie. That was me. What's real and what's not? What are you basing your life's views on? What do you believe about Jesus? You believe he's real? You believe he's not? Well, if you're a historian and you're a professor at any college in the world and you're worth your salt, there's not a professor out there that doesn't know that Jesus Christ was a real person on this earth. The question is, was he a crazy Eddie walking around saying, "I'm God, I'm God"? That'd be weird. Or was he who he said he was? Or was he just simply lying and deceiving people? You know, as I dove into the research behind Jesus Christ, it's more than just this knowing in my heart after doing life with him. He is my best friend. After doing life with him for all these years, I know that he's my best friend. But you may not know him that way. And let me encourage you to dive into some of the research and really look at the evidence, and then follow the evidence wherever it will lead. Don't come into it with a bias, opinion, or what you want that evidence to be. Just look at the evidence. I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you do that, you will discover that the evidence will support the fact that Jesus Christ said he was God come to earth, and then he backed it up with a bodily resurrection from the dead. When you can do that, man, you got game. You better listen to somebody who can back up their claims with rising from the dead, right? Well, thanks for listening, and hope to talk to you sometime soon.
Giving Jesus the glory forever.
To anyone out there who's having a hard time uncovering life's answers, or who just really doesn't know what's real, you might be wondering what evidence supports these beliefs. Well, thankfully, technology makes finding the answers a lot more simple, as all you have to do is look up Bible prophecy on your cell phone and read through all of them yourself. Simply put, there are thousands of prophecies throughout the Holy Bible that have all come true. Jesus himself fulfilled over 300 of those prophecies. That's the amazing proof and reality of Christ's 33 years walking on this earth. Ultimately, believing in and trusting in Jesus is a decision that you have to make for yourself. Don't decide whether or not to have a relationship with him based on other people, as they didn't die on the cross for you. Jesus did. The religious side of it doesn't matter, but a relationship with Jesus Christ does. Those who believe, trust, and give their life over to him and repent of all their sins will be forgiven 100% of the time, no matter what they've done in life, as long as their hearts are in the right place and they actually mean it. That's as real as it gets. God bless.
Sometimes the only one who cares is Jesus Christ. He hears our lonely prayers when no one else is nice. Sometimes Lord.